Says we're live.
There we are. Show number 2.
Number 2.
Working out the kinks.
We're getting it. Hey,
We're getting there.
here we go.
Welcome to the Acement, everybody.
It's time to go behind the funny.
It is.
We're all fucked up.
Well, not yet, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Acement. As I said, this is time to go behind the funny. I'm Scott Higgins.
And I am Ace Aceto.
And we're glad you were joining us. Thank you so much to our new people that are joining us that may have not listened to us before. Thank you so much. We appreciate you tuning in. To our fans that may have listened to the podcast before but haven't seen the Acement, this is it. People, this is the studio. So we're glad you can see us and join us live. You can chat with us this evening. You can ask questions if you like. Please participate. Let us know you're there. We really appreciate it. And if you are listening to the podcast, if you get a moment, please give us a 5-star written review wherever you downloaded your podcast. It really, really helps us out a lot, and we really appreciate that. So thank you very much. Other than that, I don't want to delay much longer because we have an awesome guest this week.
Yeah, and you guys know we already are drinking our unofficial
bourbon.
Yeah, we don't even say sponsor because they don't sponsor us, but we'd love them if they would. We're going to beg again every other week.
Eventually, someone from Jefferson's will see this.
Holy shit, I listened to this podcast and they talked about us. It's
someone
great.
That works at the Kentucky distilleries, someone from Jefferson's will see this. Please. And know what huge fans we are and that we promote them every single week.
Yes. So, but this week we got a great guest. Speaking of promotions, this is a guy. Now you've never worked with him, right?
No, I have not. I've watched his web series.
Yes. So what? About a year and a half ago, we had our good friend Al Ducharme on, and he was telling us about a web series that he did with another Al Romas from New York, from Long Island, who I got to work with years and years ago at the Comedy Connection in East Providence. He was one of those Omnipop guys that used to come through town, like Tom Anzalone and Adam Ferrara and Richie Minervini.
A lot of those guys worked in the area back in the day.
Exactly. And so when I saw that Al and Al were doing this web series, I was like, oh, that's so cool. So I reached out to the other Al, and he's agreed to be on. So I'm still working on this producing shit. So hold on.
I love
and welcome Al Romas to the Behind the Funny podcast.
Good to be here, guys.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Show number 2.
You'll have to forgive Ace. He's new to the technical side of things.
Yeah. No, we've actually been doing the podcast for 4 years. This is our 5th season, but this is only show number 2 doing it live. Through video. We've always done it just typical audio podcast.
Yeah,
right.
So we're not that new, but we're definitely new and look like idiots when it comes to producing.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're new to the video medium.
Yeah,
but that was pretty smooth. That wasn't bad. That wasn't a bad start.
It wasn't horrible.
I've had worse. I've seen worse. Believe me.
All right, good.
Yeah,
I
wasn't
appreciate
bad.
it.
Yeah,
So,
I leave all the technical aspects to Ducharme.
Ducharme, yeah.
Ducharme does all that. I just tell him, what time do I need to be there? He goes 3:00, and then I come on and we have a guest or we talk, and then I let him do editing and everything else. So now I don't know any of it.
And that's basically that was my role. My role was just to book the comics, book the guests
and show up and talk.
And Scott did all of the audio stuff and the editing, if you want to call it that.
Exactly.
We constantly have multiple shows. In fact, our most recent show, you can hear us say, oh yeah, that'll edit out. And then I go, no, you won't. No, you won't edit anything out. You'll hear this conversation on the podcast when it comes out.
Al, I believe in organic conversation.
I hear you,
I don't want to edit what our guests tell us
because it's work. You don't want to do any work. That's the problem.
Exactly.
That's like Ducharme. I go, you can edit that out. He's like, it's a lot of work. Go,
yeah, it is.
All right, fuck it. We'll leave it.
Exactly.
Just leave it in. Leave it as is.
Okay, you don't have to let all my secrets out. I mean, it was nice having you on the show.
Sorry, dude. Yeah. Good job, guys. Really enjoyed it. Good to be in the Acement.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
know. This is
One of our guests brought that nickname out.
I don't think it was that tough, but okay.
When he was
No,
on.
I
No,
know.
no, no. I'm not saying that he's in Mensa or anything like that, but it just kind of stuck.
I
It
never
works.
thought of it.
Yeah,
I
it
never
works.
thought of it.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad.
So like I said at the beginning, I had the pleasure of working with you way back when at
Wow.
the old Comedy Connection,
Long time ago.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
a long time ago.
it was like mid to late 90s.
Was that Dana's era?
That was Dana's era?
Yep.
Yeah, you remember Dana?
Yes,
The little
yes.
Spitfire that would
I did, of
come in and
course.
yell at everyone and
Yeah.
tell you how much time you had.
Yes. Was that the one in the was that the gig in the old bank?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I
And the
remember,
green
sure.
room was in the old vault.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah. So I guess I've worked with you before, but I didn't really get to know you as well because it was like 2 or 3 times. So when did you start? When did you get into comedy? When did you start it?
I got in. I was in the Navy. I went to college, and I got. I'm one of those guys. In my 4th year of college, I was about 16 credits short of graduating.
Okay.
And I decided, you know what? I need to see the world. I need to get out of here. So I dropped out of college with 16 credits short, and I joined the Navy. Literally, like I went to a recruiting office. I walked in. I go, I want to go in the Navy, and the guy was like, really? Why don't you just graduate college? And I go, no, I want to do this. So I did. I joined the Navy. Ended up in Norfolk, Virginia. That's where, I'm seeing the world. And Norfolk,
Yeah, right.
Virginia. You know what I mean? It's like worse than Long Island. And but I found myself kind of like I loved comedy, and I was writing little jokes, and I was doing it. I worked in a radio room on a ship. And there were about 11 guys and pretty captive crowd. I would do my little stand-up, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
And one of the guys would go to a bar every Tuesday night and said that they did comedy there. He's like, they have open mic. You go in there and do comedy. And I was like, oh, really? So I just walked in one Tuesday, started doing it. And there were about 5 or 6 comics. That was it. This is 1985.
Yep.
And I stuck around, and I got to be like, the guy out of the 5 who was doing something. And then I got out of the Navy in 88 and thought I should move back to New York. But there was a Virginia Beach comedy club called the Thorogood Inn at that time. I don't know if you've ever worked it down in
No.
Good club.
Yep.
And I thought, well, you know what? I could be the house MC here, and I could literally work every weekend, watch these headliners from New York and LA, and put a year or 2 in doing that, and then go to New York, because I just felt like, if I'm good here, but I'm going to move to the city now, and I'm going to be horrible.
Yeah.
Right.
Or unknown in any way to get some traction. So I did that, and then I moved in 90, and that was at the time where those TV shows were popping. Wherever if you had 7 minutes, you were on TV, and within a year, I think I did like 11 of them. So
wow,
I'm suddenly, I have all these TV credits, and then I signed with Omnipop, and they started putting me on the road as a headliner.
Wow.
But I'm only doing
That
comedy, really doing comedy 3-4 years max.
Wow.
So when they put you on the road as a headliner, could you fill that time?
No.
So that had to be scary as hell.
No business. It was horrible. Believe me. I would go to a city and sit in the back and watch some road dog middle act, who was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was 20 years in. He was just a road guy.
Yeah.
Blow the roof off, and then they're like, "Are you ready for your headliner?" And I'm like, puking in the back. I'm gonna die. I can't follow this guy. I shouldn't be here. I'm a fraud, So
Right.
So I'd go up, and then it would just be horrible nights going back to the motel and just like questioning everything. But
Yeah.
I did it. I got through it, but then I went back to Long Island, and then I was like, I really, I want to stay in the city a little bit, and I want to do Long Island. I'll headline it, or middle. I'd feature at Governors and those clubs and get 30 together. That was good. And what's the rush here? But they, they're agents. They wanted to get you out there, get their commission. And the clubs at that time were just, they put those dumb credits out on the sign.
Right.
And people, because there was no no internet. So people just thought, well, this guy's on TV. He's got to be good.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, so, and remember, so what year was this you signed? And
this would be 90, 91, 92.
It was like the tail end of the big comedy boom. So there weren't as many comics as there are now. And more importantly, there were a ton of not just clubs, but restaurants and, with comedy nights and stuff like that.
But those shows were so popular, like Evening at the Improv, and, the half-hour comedy hours and all those. And if somebody saw, that Al Romas has seen on Evening at the Improv, that would fill seats.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if they didn't know who you were, like you said, they saw that you were seen on that show. You must be good.
Yeah, and they were so hungry for body. I remember doing Evening at the Improv, and I had a decent set, and then I got off, and then the guy's like, "Do you have another 6 minutes?" And I go, "I think so." And he goes, "All right, you're going to be on Caroline's. We'll fly," because it was the same production company. And I flew back to New York. And then 2 nights later, I'm at Caroline's with Rich Jenny hosting. And then I'm like, wow, I'm in show business here. This is pretty cool. you know?
Right.
And, but then it was like, all right, now you're a headliner because you have all these MTV, VH1, you have all these credits, but again, can you be a headliner and can you do 45, 50?
You're sitting there going, all right, I've got a solid 15. Am I really a headliner? Yeah.
I think I would have been a good feature act with a 25 kind of thing. Guy from out of town do 25, let the other guy do his hour, and
right.
But to do that 50, and then some nights, when they're like, "Stay up there if you're having fun," you go, "What? Fun?"
That's we talk about that all the time. The only job where they say you can do more work. We're not paying you anymore, but you could do more work
if you're having fun.
Having fun. I always got a kick out of that one. If you're having fun, I'm like, what? I'm not having any fun. I shouldn't even be up here. This is
But it seemed like when Omnipop, when they would have the Omnipop guys in, like yourself, it seemed like they always doubled you guys up too, because that was when I was so I had come over from another club. The original comedy club in Rhode Island was called Periwinkles, and when they closed, the Comedy Connection had just opened up maybe a year or two. There was a little bit of overlap, but it seemed like for us local guys, it took me a long time to get moved up from host to feature, even if I had a half hour.
Yeah,
because every time I worked at the Connection, it was 2 Omnipop people. Like I remember working with you and Adam Ferrara.
Right.
And then another time it was Richie Minervini and Adam Ferrara. Like it was almost like double headliner shows. And then the local guy would get to open, which for me, it was great anyway, because I loved working with everyone,
Right.
It's
always hard in your town anyway. Don't you find that if you
absolutely.
They always just look at you like, well, he's an MC. And you go,
I've said it before. It was you and Adam Ferrara that actually got me moved up to feature with Dana, because I had worked with you guys a couple of times and done a good job. And I think it was Adam that turned to her and said, how come this guy's not featuring?
Yeah, I think that was me. That was me.
Yeah, it was you. It was you. I'm sorry. Fuck Adam.
You're right.
I'm kidding.
Exactly.
He's been giving away your credit on that story for years.
Come on, dude. What the hell? I went to bat for you, you son of a bitch.
I know. I appreciate it.
Now he's going to call her and take it back.
No. I know. Hey, she's not even booking comedy much anymore.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I remember though going to speaking of that whole thing, going to Boston.
Yeah.
I'm in this thing of. And I got booked at Nick's, and I didn't know anything about how they do it. Luckily, the first night they did it with the Nick's night I was there, it was Don Gavin hosting, headline host, and then
headline host. That was a big thing in Boston.
So he goes up and just crushes, and then Kevin Knox goes up and destroys. And again, I'm in the back of the room, like, you don't need me here. I don't want to be here. I want to be at Governor's doing 10 minutes. This is wrong. So I get a Heineken, and the bartender goes, "Are you funny?" And I go, "Yeah, I guess." Right. And he goes, "Well, you better be." He goes, these are killers.
Yes.
I'm like, well, that's not helping me, dude. But yeah, thanks, man. So I go up and I bomb. I bombed. Horrible death. And I came off, and I had finished the Heineken on stage. I went to, and the bartender at Nick's, I don't know if you guys worked it, where it was that old school kind of, I go, "Hey man, can I get another?" The guy ignored me. He wouldn't give me a Heineken because I wasn't funny.
Really?
Like, really? Go fuck yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not funny enough for a Heineken, I guess. Okay.
You didn't earn it.
We've actually had some of the old time club owners on, not necessarily the Knicks, but we've had some of the owners on, and they would say they would purposely do that to out of town guys, because then it would give them negotiation the next time the agency called and said, "Hey, I want to get this person in," they'd be like, "Well,
he didn't do that great last time.
Can you
Right.
cut me a deal on the price?" So they would talk them down on the price for it.
Yeah,
That's funny.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
That's why I got lucky in the sense because I got a Heineken. I just sat there, just drinking, and then Gavin was like, "Oh, come out with us tonight."
yeah.
And I went out with him and Knox and somebody else, and we played pool and drank some beer. And then he was like, "Don't worry, man, it's gonna be different tomorrow."
Yeah.
And then the next night he gave me the big kind of my buddy. This guy's from New York, but he's my friend.
Set you up.
He's a killer comic. And so really the
gonna
crowd
love
was then
him.
like, "Oh, he's a friend of Gavin's. So we like him now."
Exactly.
And I was able to. I did fine. I didn't. It wasn't anything like the first night at all. But man, that was a rough. That was a rough one.
They've done that type of stuff for years. The famous story was, do you know Brian Dunkelman?
Yeah. Was that the American Idol guy?
Yeah, the first season he was on the first season and then left.
Yeah,
famous story. Well, he was doing the Connection in Providence, and he was booked as the headliner, obviously, because he just came off of a massively huge show, and they booked Kevin Knox as his opener. And this is when Knox has already been headlining for a while.
Yeah, Knoxy was so low energy.
And Knox goes up and destroys the room. He goes up there and does 25 minutes and ends his set. And the Connection's like, what Debbie? That's right. Debbie was the manager at the time. She's like, "What are you doing? You're the headliner." He goes, "I did my set." She goes, "You're supposed to be doing 45 to 50 minutes." He goes, "I don't have that."
Right.
And she goes, "What do you mean you don't have that? That's what we booked you for." So the next night they had him go first and had Noxie closed out the shows. And I'm like, but I guarantee you, Noxie did not get paid what Dunkelman was getting paid.
Right, exactly. And that happens. I mean, that's like a lot of the TV guys.
Oh, yeah.
You win a TV, whatever it's American Idol or not. What was it? Last Comic Standing or something.
Well, Dat Fan from the first
Fan, right?
Last Comic Standing. I haven't heard much from him since he won that show.
But
that was the same thing.
Ahead.
Though he was booked immediately to headline all these improvs,
right?
And then he got there and. Within a day or two, the middle act was headlining, and that was moved down to feature or MC even. I mean, not his fault though either. It was just one of those things. You get,
exactly.
Because the club owners were trying to get who's going to put asses in the seats, and if it's someone from TV. So I remember even before those kind of shows were on, I remember working with Eddie Brill and Rhonda Shear. Remember Rhonda from Up All Night?
Yep. Sure.
Rhonda had like. I don't know, a half hour that her boyfriend had written her at the time, but she was getting booked for comedy.
Right.
But by the second night, Eddie was closing the show, even though he was hired to be the feature. He was closing the show because she couldn't follow him. He was an actual, a stand-up who had worked the craft.
Well, at the end of the day, for the club, it's a business, and they're going to make money if there's asses in the seats. So that's why you see clubs that'll have the soap opera stars that come in and do the meet and greet things and stuff like that because they're going to sell the place out. They're going to make money.
I did that for
Walt Willie.
I did the Walt Willie tour of
did you really?
Jersey,
Connecticut. Done that.
Yeah. I mean, the guy, he at the end he was, because I was doing, I don't know what you did, I was doing about 95-ish, and he had put together a song at the end, and
exactly, he played guitar.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
he was entertaining,
but he was at least cool. Like he always in the gram, he knew he's like, I'm not a fucking comic, and,
right? He just knew he was getting all these women that loved him. Soap opera.
It was but that was a easy gig, 20 minutes or something before him, and then he would talk and then sing a song, and then all they wanted were pictures anyway, so it didn't matter. Just take a picture with the guy.
Yeah,
so.
Although sometimes at the Connection, I felt so bad. This one woman stayed there all night. She bought tickets to 2 shows. Oh. He literally went in the limo in the back. He didn't even go in the green room. We went in the limo in the back in between shows. She was hanging out. Then he came back, did the second show, and then he got in the car and went straight to Boston.
Well, how many
I cleaned up
can
that
you
night.
See in your life? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, really, it's just like at that point, you just go, "Get me the fuck out of here."
Yeah, exactly. I get it.
Yeah.
Especially if he was probably being pushed to do that from like the soap opera too. Like, hey, this is going to get us more viewers, and it'll get you more fans because because you're going out and you're seeing them.
I'm sure he got paid okay to do those appearances.
I'm
as
sure.
well.
yeah,
I'm sure he did.
He was doing really well.
Yeah,
listen,
really well with that.
they weren't putting Gavin up before him.
No.
No. Those were safe shows. I remember
Yes.
just being like at Rascals, and they were like 15 clean. Just get up there and get the fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, don't be bringing out any heavy shit. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever you want.
Yeah, you were like a TV warm up comic when you did those.
And, whatever.
Which is
I
fine.
don't mind those gigs.
Which is fine.
Yeah,
sure. Exactly.
At that time, especially, it was like no pressure. I mean, I dealt with so much of that where my stomach was in knots for years that if you told me to do 15 and get off, I was like, thank you. That's perfect.
Exactly.
That's all I wanted. I wanted to build, and then I would go in the city, and then, that's the thing where Omnipop was like, well, you're not going to make any money in the city. I'm like, yeah, but it's not always about just going out and making $1,000. I want to actually have an act or something I'm proud of.
How many years in were you before you finally felt like, okay, now I have that act that's a headliner act, and I feel comfortable up there for that 50 minutes or an hour?
I would say around 97, 98. So
okay.
8-9 years. Where, where you feel, even though looking back at that now, if I saw that set, I'd probably be like, oh God.
Right.
But at the time I was like, I could do it. And if you said, hey, can you do 45 or 50? I'd be like, yeah, I can do that.
Right. And it would be solid.
Yeah. Mostly. Mm-hmm.
Now, did you do? Did Omnipop? Obviously, you were in New England, but where else did Omnipop send you? Like, were you all over the country with Omnipop? Or?
Yeah, I had TJ Mark Walter, who's still my agent today, like 30 years or whatever it's been. But he would just say to me, because a lot of guys didn't want to do it, but once I got going with it, he was like, "Do you want to go on the road?" And so I did those road gigs. I did the Midwest. I did.
Yeah.
I'd land somewhere, either rent a car or the middle act would have a car, and we'd hang out and we do those gigs where you're in one place, and then the next day you drive 6 hours and 8 hours, then you go back to where you started almost, and one nighter, and then a weekend. But at that point, I wanted, because it was hard to stretch on Long Island. Long Island is like Boston, where they had.
Only so many places, right?
And you had your Joey Cola or your those guys were the headliners, and they used them all the time. So to break in and really get to do that time, So I found going on the road. I remember going on the road at one point, almost I might have been out of like town in a sense for 10 months, and I went and worked Rascals in New Jersey, and I came off stage, and the manager Danny was like, "Shit, what happened? You got funny." And I was like, well, I've been on the road. I fucking work. I was working. That's how you do it. But he was
that happens. The more you do, I mean, when you're working, because back then, to your point, Wednesday night, one nighter, Thursday night, one nighter, Friday, Saturday, weekend. That you get in those shows, you grow.
Well,
and those one nighters were not comedy clubs; they were bars, they were bar hotels. Shows. So you dealt with everything. You learned how to do crowd work. You learned how to fill time. Maybe the middle act didn't show up, or the MC didn't show, so they'd be like, "Can you guys split 90 minutes?" And everything was different every night. So but
and Colin Quinn's
it was fun.
Colin Quinn's commented on that before, that the road will help you get funny because you got to see different crowds, different situations. Like you said, you never know what you're going to be thrown into. So you got to be able to, change things up and do longer, do this, do that. And once you learn, how to adapt like that, then you come back home and you're like, okay, this is actually easy. Or,
and I think a lot of the road guys get a bad rap, because I remember going back in the city, and then guys are like, we're worried. I'm telling them like, oh, do you work with these fucking hack road dogs? I'm like, these guys are funny. They're just as funny as you. I mean, they just don't live in New York and do jokes about New York City. These guys are really good comics. They're just in their car, or they live in Cincinnati or wherever, but I mean, they're killers out there.
Well, and that's the thing. I think when you start, because even for me in Rhode Island, Rhode Island's so small, it's so parochial, that I had a lot of material, and still do have a lot of material about Rhode Island.
Right.
But then all of a sudden you're working in Maine, and they're like, they don't get North Providence, Rhode Island. So you have to switch it up. You have to say, you have to kind of, when I go into a town, and I'll ask the bartender or one of the waitresses, hey, let me ask you this, where's a local place that's known for being redneck, or where's a local place that has a lot of Italians in it. So you learn how to kind of customize it for them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's all about learning how to be a comic. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
you know, these comics, I'm in Tampa, and I go to the Tampa Improv, you know, pre-pandemic, of course. And,
Right.
and all these kids are like, how do you, they're talking to me about advice, and like, nobody wants to hear it, because I find these guys are all in their 20s, and I'm like, well, you got to work every night, and you got to go on the road, and you got to do, and they're like, oh, fuck, really? Like, what else?
Yeah.
Like,
They don't want to work at it.
well, I go, I don't know what else to tell you, man. That's
Well, no,
doing
now
2 shows a week's not going to
nowadays,
do it.
Right?
Know?
No, nowadays it's one funny YouTube video, and you
Right. Well, if you can do it,
and
if
you're
you can-
famous.
well, that's true. Well, a lot of and it's different too, in the sense, like, I look at the local club. There's a comedy club here, Side Splitters, and they're doing a good job. But
I've heard of that.
I look who they're booking. I don't know who they are, but then I look them up, and they're like, you know, the guy's got a big podcast, or the guy's got 1 million views on YouTube.
Right.
So I get it if he sells
Yeah.
out, because it's a different day and age now, where people don't just go to a comedy club.
Right.
Just
They're
to
going
go
to see
shows.
somebody.
Right.
They know who they are. They're like, I want to see his videos. I want to see listen to his pod.
Right.
Go see him this weekend. I'm not just walking in. You know, that was the thing with guys like Stanhope and years ago, where he was like, fuck this. I need to have an audience. I can't just go on stage and have these people walk out on me. You know, they're not here for me. So he was one of the first to go, I'm just going to find my audience, whether it's in a bar, you know, wherever it is, and not worry about the funny bone or the improv.
Mike Birbiglia did that as well.
Yeah.
Where he just, the average comedy club type of thing or bar gig wasn't where his audience was. So he just, you know, found them and built his career around it and did very well for himself.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
and sometimes you have to do that. And that's a part of the adapting that we talked about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, it's part of being a comic, you know, is
Yep.
knowing what your audience is and adapting to
And
them,
who they are. Right.
Yeah. And then you get, you know, you also, you know, you get older, maybe you get married, you have family, whatever. And then you don't want to be in some Holiday Inn in Cincinnati on a Wednesday night. So you got to be like, how am I going to, you know, if I don't have a TV show, if I don't, and there's no really YouTube at that time,
right?
What am I going to do? I got to do something, you know, I got to change this up, or else I'm just going to be that guy in the car with the, you know, the guy with the bar in the back with his shirts hanging there.
Right.
Like, well, I've been in those. I'm like, what's that about? He goes, hey, if I have a night off, I stay in the car. I'm like, you don't get a hotel? He's like, no, we can afford a hotel.
Then once you've been married for 30 years, like I have, you say, I'll go back on the road.
Well, then it sounds
Wednesday night gigs at the Chuck in Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's a home run then. Sure.
No, honey, I got to do it. We're coming out of the pandemic. I got to do some road work.
I got to get
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Is it opening up at all up there? Because
a little bit.
Very, very little. You know, as summer's coming, I'm seeing a lot more outdoor shows starting to open up again. You know, you see people starting to book some of those. There's a theater that I've been producing shows at for the last couple of years, and we were having a hell of a run, and we're going to try our first one in June. We could do 50% capacity now, and you can't have more than 2 people side by side before you got to space them out. So we're going to try it. We're going to give it a try for half capacity, and we're going to do a smaller version of the theater show that we used to do. So it's going to be half capacity. So it's starting to
there's
see it here and there.
There's a local up in southern New Hampshire. There's a chain of movie theaters.
Yeah, they've been doing well.
Called Chunky Cinema, and what they do is they dedicate one of the theaters for comedy night on Friday and Saturdays. And so there's a guy that's been booking that for years, and he's been, you know, because if you've got a theater that, you know, fits 250, 300 people, because it's not stadium style seating, it's those big
old school,
but it's those big like leather. They look like Lincoln Continental seats, you know.
Right.
But if you put 150 people in there at 50% capacity, it's still a decent, you know, it's a decent show. It's a big place.
And New Hampshire opened up those restrictions a lot sooner than other states in New England did. So he started booking those type of shows, you know, 4 or 5 months ago.
Right.
Whereas Connecticut, where I live, literally just last month changed it to that. Because before that, like the theater show, for instance, that I do, we have 400 seats. We could have 50 people in there until the end of last month.
Oh, gee, yeah.
So
Okay.
we didn't bother to,
It's not
we didn't bother
Right.
to have a
There's
show
no
for
point.
50
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then they just said 50% capacity as of this month. So
Right.
that's why we said, okay, June, let's try one and see how we do, and then we'll start building again from there. Hopefully,
Gotcha.
I did comics at Mohegan Sun couple Sundays ago, and they could do 50% capacity, which that room is like 150, and they were sold out. They were
Okay.
absolutely sold out. So
Do people wear a mask in the audience?
they have to wear it to their seat. They
Right.
can take it off once they're at their seat.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
We had to be 12 feet from the nearest person in the audience.
Right.
Just because of, obviously because
Well,
we're
most theaters are
transmitting.
built like that anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
You're probably 20 feet from the
No,
front.
but I'm talking
row.
about that comics.
Oh, right.
We had to be 12 feet. So they
Yeah.
didn't have anybody in the very, very first row,
Yeah.
which is right up at the stage. It started at the second row and moved back from there.
Right.
So it worked. It
Mhm.
absolutely worked because we had 150 people there. So it felt like
Yeah.
a real comedy
Right.
audience
Not bad.
there. But that's
Have-
really it. A lot of the other shows that we used to do a ton of fundraisers. Haven't done any of
Yeah.
those because it's not worth it for people to do fundraisers for 75 people in a
Right.
You're not going to make
Yeah.
money. Have you been out doing anything like recently?
Well, I'm
You
in
had any-
Florida, so it's kind of
Oh,
open, but even though the state was saying, like, the governor was like, we're open, the
Yeah.
clubs were still like, wait a
Right,
second,
right.
right.
But most of them have stayed up. So I've done that what you just described. I've done the 50 people instead of 200,
Mhm.
Right.
that kind of thing. And I've done a weekend or 3 or 4 day things per month.
Yep.
Each month during this. So, and I've done the Zoom shit, which I hate.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's been slow. But
Yeah.
now it's kind of it seems like there's things happening again. Vegas is open now, so they're booking it and
Yeah.
things like that.
Where are you down in Florida? Did you say you're in the Tampa area?
I'm in Tampa. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm in Tampa. Been here a while. I started doing cruises, and then
That was going to be my question.
Yeah.
We've had other people on that have done cruises, and I
That's
kinda
Ace's
took-
retirement plan.
That's my retirement plan.
Yeah.
That's what I love to do because I unlike a lot of guys like you, I didn't have the balls to just go full into comedy, so I got a day job.
You're
and
smart, actually. It was probably
The past year that's paid off.
Yeah, I was gonna
it's
say.
definitely helped. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
regret it. But
Yeah.
I've worked in medical sales now for 24 years, and
Okay.
I'm like 7 or 8 years from retirement, and I love it down in Florida. I
Mhm.
want to move to like the Sarasota area,
Sure.
and that's been my goal is just come up with a good solid 45 50 totally clean, and then a half hour that or a half hour it depends on the cruise line.
It depends
right?
on the cruise line. I basically work Royal Caribbean exclusively, and there's 3 big ships, the 6,000 passenger,
Mhm.
and they have a comedy club on there.
Yeah.
2 comics, and that's an adult show. That you do a half hour each. You do like 16 shows a week.
Oh wow.
But a half hour, and
Yeah.
you can repeat the show. You can do different, whatever you want to do, and it's all
Right.
adult. You could fucking
that's
curse
great.
it up. So it's really that's where I met Al Ducharme.
Al.
I had knew Al in New York. We were friendly. We weren't great friends, but we were friendly.
Yeah.
And then hadn't seen the guy in I don't know 15, 20 years really. And then I walked into the comedy club, and there he is.
Uh-huh.
And so we just picked up where we left off and started hanging, and it was great.
That's awesome.
But he's been doing the cruises about as long as I have. And my point was I was in New York, and you get like a 7 a.m. flight or a 6 a.m. flight, and it's winter, and I'm standing outside an apartment in Manhattan getting snowed on. It's 0 degrees, waiting for a cab or pre-Uber, and I'm like, this sucks. This is horrible. I don't want this. And then I was like, I moved to Florida thinking, well, for a while, because that became where I was talking about you have to find a niche. I was like, I don't want to just do comedy clubs anymore. Corporate gigs were just too far and few, between. But I was like, these ships, man, the money's good, and I liked it. A lot of guys don't like it. I mean, they don't. They think they feel restricted. They, in some cruise lines, there are those shows where it's like you can't, Disney or
Right.
Holland America. You got to be squeaky clean.
Squeaky clean. Yeah, I won't work those.
You know, it's not any fun. I mean, you just it's not enjoyable to perform. But whereas like Royal with these comedy club ships, it's the same thing. You just don't go home at night. You go back to your cabin, which is, you know, it's a guest cabin. It's very nice. So
yeah,
I have no problem with it at all. And I think a lot of guys, you know, we're starting to realize that even before the pandemic, I'd get 1 or 2 a week from emails from guys I really hadn't talked to in a while. And you always know, hey, Al, how are you? And it's like, what the fuck do you want? Because nobody's checking in on you. You know what I mean? So
the next sentence is, so how are the cruises? Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. How would I go about getting in there? I'm like,
yeah.
And I would help people originally. And then one of my friends told me, stop doing that, man. These guys are just going to end up taking your job. Like,
right.
Tell them you don't know how to get, or whatever. It's on them. So, but generally, if I know the guy, I'm usually like, you know, here's what you do. And whatever, see if it works out for him, you know.
Now, is there also work at, you know, because we were talking, you know, Mike McCarthy?
Sure,
he lived down in Florida for a while too, and he was like, you know, I can't wait to retire, kid. I want to just go down there and fucking go to these retirement communities because they don't give a shit about anything. You know, he's because you know the whole political correctness. Because listen, I'm 53, he's 53.
Like, right there.
So
I'm 52. I'm not your age yet.
Calm down. Calm down.
All right, kid, relax. Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I know. You're gonna take your ball and go home.
Yeah.
He put me in panic mode there.
But but you know, and Mike brought up a good point. Like, you know, when I retire at 60, everyone else is going to be my age, and they're not politically correct.
No,
they don't give a shit about that. Like, you could do whatever you want. Like, I can't wait to get down there and work the villages if they have a comedy club at the villages, or you know, all these other places. You know,
I've done that. I've done the comedy night at the villages. I've done all the, and it's great because it is that, you know, I mean, there are some old people there. They don't want to hear it, but it doesn't matter. They don't give you any restriction going in.
7 to 10 years, they'll be dead.
And your audience is your age. So if you're 60-something-year-old comic, that's your audience. Yeah, you're all the same there. And with the cruises, it was when I started on the cruises, they were like, you know, a lot of older people would be on them, but now they've gone younger because they're selling it. There's no more talk of midnight buffet and all that bullshit. Now it's all about being active and diving and scuba and
surfing lessons.
Oh,
so,
Jesus.
You know,
I just booked a cruise for next year on Carnival, family cruise. We're going with my mom, my brother, the big family. And I mean, the cruise ship, it's going to be the newest one that they're launching like literally this year.
Okay.
And it's got a freaking roller coaster on the top of it.
Right.
There's a roller coaster. There's a running track. There's all kinds of shit. It's more active, like you said.
And that'll have a comedy club. Like Carnival did the same thing. They took their lounge where they would just have a 3-piece band that nobody would listen to.
Yep.
And they went, you know what? They made a whole thing where they go, George Lopez presents.
Yes.
And I did a few of those, and it wasn't for, I mean, they're fine and they pay the same as Royal. So I was like, that's fine.
Right.
But they want 2 family shows and then they want 3 adult shows. And it was like, wow, that's 5 shows. It got to be like, you got to become like where you're doing it a lot to get good. Because I was just going in there for a week at a time, and I'm like, I got to chop up my act into 5 different shows. And but it was just funny to watch people, like, they play a little movie with George Lopez. He's like, I go around the country, I find the best comedians, I bring them here. And
like people are scouting.
People are in the back going, oh, George Lopez found these guys. Like,
and he's never met
George Lopez. I've never seen George Lopez. What are you talking about?
The cruise agent.
They gave him a big check, and he did it. He did the gig, and then when he had that video where he was like passed out in a casino. The next night they took down George Lopez's name, and that was it. He was all
he wasn't booking the comedy anymore.
No, he wasn't out there looking for talent anymore.
Right.
Then they were scrambling for a new name. Well, should we use Bill Cosby? No, that's not gonna work.
Who can we go? Who can we look for?
Chris D'Elia? No, that's not gonna work.
Damn it!
Carlos
No.
Yeah,
right.
But a lot of those guys on Carnival, the comics, I mean, they're good. These are road guys, that never really made in like any real money, like where in the sense where every week was, you know, it might fall apart. So 2,000 becomes 1,200 and 1,000. So for them, it was until last year the greatest thing in the world. I mean, they and it was cool because I would get off the ship, say in Cozumel, and you go to lunch, and we would tag, and I'd find out like who's on that ship. We had this Facebook page.
Yep.
And it was great to have lunch and have some drinks and shit with comics you hadn't seen in a while,
Right. And then cool. So what was it like? You'd hop on a different ship, like you go to Cozumel and you jump off your ship and then another ship, or you
Royal it's 7 days.
Oh, okay.
Royal's Sunday to Sunday, but Carnival will do that because they give you so many shows. They'll have 2 comics Sunday to Wednesday, and then 2 more fly in Wednesday, and those guys leave and go. So
Thursday
in a
to
7-day
Saturday,
cruise on Carnival, you're getting 4 comics.
Yeah,
doing 5 different shows. I mean, it's insanity. You're seeing 20-something shows a week if you went to every show. It's pretty amazing.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. But Royal is just set 2 comics, 7 days.
Yeah.
And that's when I was hanging out with Ducharme, and I was watching him going, Jesus, he hasn't gotten any better. It's weird. He's still a lot of noises.
Yeah. And this. Wait, hold on.
Oh yeah, they're still there. Still there. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now you go over there with the chicken. When we talked about the chicken on sale.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, he's great. But that was it. Yeah. No, he's
now and so how did the whole web series start? Was it the 2 of you guys just kind of talking and saying,
well,
hey, we should do something, or
and feel free to take credit for the whole thing.
Yeah. No, I wish I could. He
listen, you moved me up
with
to feature, so
That's
you might as well take credit.
I wish on this one. I would never have thought of any of it. Believe me. He had his video camera with him. He travels with, and he always makes little videos and things. And we were talking. He goes, "Hey, this was the first cruise we did together." He said, "I want to shoot a little video if you're interested." I was like, "Yeah, sure." So we shot a little thing called Al and Al Around the World, where we got lost at sea, and the ship got into rough weather, and we couldn't find each other in Nassau, and it was all right. He put on Facebook and got a couple hundred likes or whatever, and then. About a month later, I got on the ship. You don't know who you're working with there. You just walk on the ship.
Right.
And there's Al Ducharme again. I mean, I haven't seen the guy in 20 years. Now I'm seeing him, weekly, it seems. So he goes, "Hey, I got the video camera. I have an idea. I'd love to do a thing where we're both detectives in 1950 and be in black and white. We're terrible. We're stupid." And I was like, that sounds hilarious. Fun. That sounds fun. Let's do that. So we threw suits on. We bring a suit, even though generally don't wear it, but you never know on these things.
Just in case.
Yeah. So we just went in the boardroom one day, and it was empty. We just kind of did that, set up the camera, and just improv the whole thing. Oh, wow. And he edited it. He put it on Facebook, and then the next week I was on a ship or somewhere, and he wrote me, he goes, "Have you looked at the video?" I go, "No." He goes, "We got like 30,000 likes and all this." I go,
"Oh, wow.
I go, that's pretty good, right?" He goes, He goes, "We should do another one." But I go, "Well, I don't know. When are we going to work together?" And he was like, no, I got a cruise coming up. How about I come in 2 days early? I'll, stay at your place. And I was like, "What? What's going on here?"
Yeah.
But
just invited him.
Did you invite yourself here?
What are we, best friends now?
Yeah,
so,
right.
But I go, that sounds good. All right. So he comes with a lot of ideas. So it's like, it was good. And so we did. He came to the house. We shot 2 more, and those did well. And then we submitted to at the time Funny or Die.
Yeah.
And it was on that. It did well on that. And then we were like, we just kept doing them. So generally they were done with him because he didn't have any LA cruises, and I didn't have any reason to go to LA. But he had a lot of Florida cruises, so he would just plan 2 days early or 2 days at the end to stay in Tampa, and we'd shoot. Yeah. And
wow.
And then one of the fun ones was he knew a guy in Boston, John Beckmeyer. I don't know if you know John. He's a commercial director. He seems to know a lot of comedians and all. So he offered to direct an episode. He was like, if you ever come up to Boston.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, let's do that, but then let's also work. So then we got Mike Clark. I had never met Mike, but Al knew him. So he booked us at Giggles.
Yep.
And we did the weekend at Giggles, and we shot at John has an old firehouse he bought, and he redid an old firehouse.
Oh, wow.
It's fantastic to shoot in. and we were supposed to have Lenny Clark and Mike as our nemesis.
Yeah.
So we're all set. It's gonna be great. Oh, it's gonna be great. And we're shooting. Shooting starts Saturday. Friday night at Giggles, Lenny's hosting. And Friday night, basically, Lenny goes, "Hey, when's that shoot? When are we doing that?" And we go, "Yeah, tomorrow morning." He goes, "Yeah, I can't do it. I can't. I'm not going to be here." What? What are you doing?
I'm playing cards all night. I won't be up. I
can't do it, but I'll give you a couple cigars here. So, I feel bad. I feel bad. I'm like,
cigars.
So it's like Lenny.
Yeah. So it's like, all right. So then we just, luckily, we both knew Johnny Peasy. And, So we got Johnny Peasy to play Lenny's part, and we got Artie
Januario. Yep.
Yeah, to do Mike Clark's part, and it worked fine, but it was just like so classic of we're just like that night about to bring me on. He goes, "When is that thing? Is it tomorrow?" I'm like, "Oh, fuck. Yes,
yes,
It was supposed to be tomorrow.
It was, yes.
Yeah,
we came from Florida and LA just to be here. No big deal.
It was funny. It was funny because how even if you're doing it so many, like Mike Clark never heard of me. He didn't know me.
Right.
So Al tells him, he goes, "Look, he's a headliner. We want to be co-headliners." Al's like, "I don't want to be headlining because he's guy, he's good." And then Mike Clark's like, so the ad is like Al's face and then my name at the bottom, like,
yeah.
And we were like, we were kidding him, and he goes, "What, what, Al? I know you." And then I purposely, not just for Al, but for Mike, I went up and like one of those sets where you go, "I'm gonna fucking destroy this place." Packed.
Exactly.
It's a classic comedy. I mean, it's packed. It's like, if you can't kill there,
no,
really,
it's
pretty easy.
It's a little tough when you're the first person up because people are still getting their pizza. But
we had Lenny host, so Lenny.
See, that's good.
But it was another one of those nights where you go, it was Lenny hosted, then it was like Joe Yannetti pops in to do 10 or 15.
Yeah,
and then Justin McKinney comes in to do 20. It's like, what's going on here?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, see, when I started working there years ago, it was with I don't know if you remember, if you knew Ed the Machine Regine.
Very well. Sure.
Yeah. So Eddie used to bring me up as his opening act. So that's the only reason why I got into Giggles. But it was always, I was getting moved up everywhere else, and I was never getting moved up there. But I didn't understand. Mike doesn't book the typical new guy host feature headliner. Like usually it's all headliners, but you didn't understand that when I was starting out.
No, because Johnny Peasy got me a guest spot there one time.
Yeah.
So I show up, Peasy's hosting, and Rogerson stops in. Kenny Rogerson, he does a guest spot. Yeah. And then right after him, Paul D'Angelo does a guest spot.
Yeah.
And then he brings me up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just kill me now.
It's a crazy system. And I mean, really, and Mike was like, but then Mike was super like, couldn't be cooler to me, and
absolutely.
And now
Mike's
like,
an awesome guy.
Texts all the time, and he's just like, "Get up here, I want to book you again." But now it's like, just to go to weekend at Giggles isn't really worth it for me.
Yeah, right.
If I can do something with Al, and then the money's not good to split, so Al's gonna, when this is all done, he'll maybe work. What's the one across the street that Chinese restaurant?
Kowloon.
The Kowloon, yeah.
I was like, maybe I can work the Kowloon, you work Giggles, then we shoot during the day. I go, yeah, that'd be fine. That works.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was, it's again one of those, but the room was, God, it was great. I mean, it was so
it's an awesome room.
Killer room. Yeah.
So how many episodes of The Two Dicks did you guys shoot?
We did 15, I think. We did a season. We called 12 a season.
Okay.
And then we did 3 more of season 2. And then Al was getting it on Amazon Prime, and then the pandemic hit. And then Amazon Prime had all this weird, even though they need content, I don't know, this problem started. And when Al starts talking about that shit, I zone out, man. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. So I just
like when
put
he
it on
starts talking about
speaker
the technical shit, right?
I put it on speaker and walk away. I don't know what so he was trying to explain it. I go, all right. So, but then I just thought, well, why don't we, because we have an audience now, or somewhat.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's do a podcast. But originally we started Talking Dicks on Facebook.
Okay.
We did it as a Facebook thing.
Yep.
Twice a week, 20 minutes on that. And it went well, but then I just thought, I got tired of people going, hey, do you have a podcast? I go, yeah, but it's on Facebook. And they're like, what? Like, why isn't it? I want to hear it. Like, like a pod. Yeah. So then we got it as a regular podcast, and then you do all the other stuff. We have Patreon with video,
Right.
and different things, and yeah,
And
it's going.
so
You
it's
know,
called
good.
it's called the Talking Dicks podcast.
The Talking Dicks comedy
Okay.
podcast, because
Okay.
we put comedy in there. I mean, if I had to
Yeah.
go back in time, I would never have called it the Two Dicks. I wouldn't have called it the
Well,
Talking Dicks.
Well, because
The
if somebody
reason
just
why-
Googles two
It's
dicks,
a problem. It's a problem.
No, well, and I can tell you, if you search Two Dicks podcast
Mm.
on like Apple Podcasts, these
Yeah.
two British guys come up, and I'm like, that's
And
not Al and Al. I don't know who
Right.
the fuck
That's
that guy.
right.
Well,
Yeah,
and if
they're-
you don't
they're-
put in the word podcast, you get a whole different
that's
search.
a different search. Yeah.
Well, we were in Tampa together and we did the improv. We got booked at the improv. So we're filming an episode. Then I was like, try to get us co-headline the improv. And they said yes. And then we did local TV, and the girl interviewing us for, 10 a.m. Good Day Tampa. She's like, I can't say
that.
this. And
Talking
we're like,
Dicks.
I can't say it. And we go, no, these are detectives. And they were called dicks.
Dicks
That's what
back then. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we thought we're two idiots, so we're dicks. It works. But then she was like, in her ear with the producer, can we do this? And they're like, yes, you can call us. So she's like, the Two Dicks will be at the improv.
That's awesome. So she
Well,
mate it worse than
she
it
made
really
it-
was.
oh, they all
she
do.
had to
They
think-
all do.
right.
They all
I don't know.
do.
That could be the best intro ever.
Yeah,
Two
they all. It's it's one of those things where you just go, what the fuck?
Go down to
But
the Tampa
it's too
Improv
late.
this weekend where you can see the two dicks.
The two
Appearing at the
dicks.
Tampa Improv, the two
Yeah.
dicks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we had to put because even I think
Comedy.
Apple Podcast I don't know, maybe one of them, Spotify, I don't know, somebody was like, got to put comedy, Talking Dicks comedy podcast.
It's Apple. It's Apple. They've
Apple,
gotten
yeah.
very strict on what's in the titles and what's in the descriptions.
Yeah.
And if it's anything that they think resembles profanity, it's going to get
Right.
pulled. They've gotten really, really strict. That's why if we had a couple episodes where we had a paranormal investigator in at Halloween, who's a comedian friend of ours and also did paranormal investigations. And
Who is
for the
that?
record, it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And he played like the EVPs, the voice phenomenon that he captured on tape and stuff like that. And we called the episode Scott Scared Shitless because it basically was true.
Right.
But I had to make sure when I put the word shitless, it was like S star
Yeah.
Right.
less, because if that word appears there, they'll pull it right down. And
Even though it says we're an explicit podcast, so we can say whatever we want.
no,
on it.
because that
But
warns people before they listen.
Right.
When the title might appear before they get a warning.
Right.
That's what they're worried about.
Yeah. Right.
Just
No,
like in the
that's
show
ridiculous.
description, you can't have any profanity.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Facebook used to give us a problem. We'd put the episode up of the Two Dicks, and I would smoke a
cigar?
fake cigarette.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, and then it would come up, boom, yeah, you can't post this. It promotes smoking. We're like, it's fake cigarette, And then they'd come back to it. Then all of a sudden, for some reason, we'd have maybe 8 of them on Facebook. The 9th one, they're like, no, the title is offensive. It's like, what now? You've been
Right.
allowing this, and it was just so many fights and problems.
It
with
is.
that,
Yeah.
again, though, I let Al handle all that.
It's crazy
Yeah,
when
that's
you're
tech
dealing
stuff.
with that shit.
Yeah.
It drives you nuts
Yeah,
sometimes.
it really does. Yeah.
So,
But
what?
things otherwise are going.
You gonna
good.
hit the wow moments?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about wow moments. So
Perfect.
we always ask our guests about like wow moments in their career. Like, are there any, either people that you got to work with that you're like, holy shit, I'm working with like this person that I emulated, that I look up to, or is there a place that you've ever worked where you're like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm standing on this stage?
Well, that one is kind of easy. I mean, it was still again early on. The ESPY Awards for ESPN.
Oh wow,
You got to do those?
Well, they were at Radio City, and John Goodman was on Roseanne. He was a big star at the time, and he was the host. And they decided they wanted to have a comic do the warm up for the ESPYs
For the show.
So I was at Stand Up New York, and they had auditions, and I went up, and I had at that time like a lot of sports material, talking about the old like Bobby Hull hockey game, the tabletop thing. I used to do like an impression of the player, all that shit.
Yep.
And I got the gig. So, it's like, Saturday night comes, and I'm on stage at Radio City Music Hall, and The biggest club I had played up till then was, you know, Stand Up New York or somewhere with 100
Right.
people.
Yeah.
So you were looking at screens on the side. You see yourself 60 feet high.
Like, holy shit.
But as a gig, it was the absolute worst because I'm on, say the show starts at 8:00. I'm up there at 7:45 and it's all athletes and celebrities coming. No one's paying attention.
They're all saying hi to each other as they're coming in and
they're
shit
greeting
like that,
each other.
right.
Yeah. And the people up in the balcony were regular people. So they're kind of listening, but you're not getting anything. Right.
Yeah.
So 15 minutes, I end. And then Jon Stewart, who I knew he was just a comic at the time, but he was writing for the monologue.
Yep.
So I came off and he just looked at me and gave me a hug and he was just like, dude, that was the toughest gig I've ever seen. He goes like, nobody was paying attention. No one.
Right.
So I'm like, fuck, that was, and anyway, they have some kind of a montage opens it. And John Goodman comes over to me. He goes, hey buddy, I have a tent backstage. This time he's like, you know, he's the biggest he's ever been.
Right.
They built a tent backstage with racks of tuxedo shirts because every time he came off stage, his shirt was so wet.
He had to change one.
He ripped it off and would put on a new one. So he's like, he goes, buddy, I got a tent back there and I got coolers full of Budweiser and, you know, go in there and have a beer. That was some work you just did.
Yeah, right.
So
he recognized it.
Yeah. So I go, oh, okay, thanks, man. And I would sit in there with him. So then I got up because he came in after 10 minutes and I didn't want to bother him. He's like, well, where you going? Where you going? I go, well, I'll leave you alone. He goes, no, stay here, man. Stay here. I like company. I want to talk. So we're doing that. Then he was on stage for a while. This is pretty wild when you hear the name and what's happened. The producer comes running in. He goes, Al, we need you. And I'm like, what?
What?
I'm wearing my shirt's all open. I go, what do you need?
You want me to throw one of his shirts on and run out
I don't
there
know.
or what?
What could you need from me now? The show's
We
been
need
on
you
an
to
hour.
change John's shirt for him.
That's right. I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, what? I'm half in the bag. I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah, right.
So I start walking out and he's going, Willie Nelson had just performed. And for Willie Nelson's show, they had like bales of hay and like a barn set up, you know, as a set piece. And they needed to take it down before the next presenter, but that was going to be, you know, a lot. So they wanted me to go out there literally while they're taking apart the barn and do comedy while they're cleaning up bales of hay and Willie Nelson. I'm like,
so you had to relive the hell that you dealt with earlier in the night.
Right.
You're literally probably going, can't I just help them with the hay and it'll go faster?
I'll sweep.
I'd gladly sweep. I'd gladly sweep whatever you need from me.
Right.
So I go, and the guy's going, maybe you do 4 minutes. You got 4 more minutes. I'm like, yeah. So as he's having this conversation, the next presenter comes up behind me and it's Bill Cosby. Now, Bill Cosby, you know, this is before we found out
issues. Yeah.
So Bill Cosby puts his hand on my shoulder
and hand you a drink.
No, he's
have a drink.
Have a drink.
I got to feel better.
Probably got to be updated. But he looks at the producer and he goes, because he's been listening. And it just shows you like he's still a comic. Like he was like,
yeah.
So the guy's going, Al, you got 4 more minutes. And then Cosby goes up to him. He goes, the boy has done his job. And the guy goes, well, Bill, we're not really, this isn't about you. We just need him to do 4 minutes. He goes, no. The boy has done his job. And he gives him a look like, fuck you. Walk away.
Alone. Yeah, right.
And the producer now looks at his watch and then we've lost another minute doing this thing. And he just goes, fuck it. And he walks off. And I literally just turn around. I go, thank you. And as I'm trying to say thank you, he's fucking walking away.
He's already
he just appeared. Like he heard. Like,
he was like a Jedi.
Yeah, man.
Jedi master.
Obi-Wan Kenobi floated
he
in.
Sensed
out.
that a comic was about to be fucked over by some producer. I will come in, I will make the scene, and then get the fuck out of here. He
walks in a robe. He goes, "This isn't the comic you're looking for."
Yes. That's right. Isn't it amazing though that comic mindset never leaves?
No,
right? He knew. He just sensed
leaves.
it. Like,
he knew.
I don't like.
He absolutely knew.
You know what it is? He sensed that you were being put in a shitty situation. And we've talked about it on this podcast a million times. In fact, we actually did an episode a couple of years ago where we had a panel of comics. In fact, I think Mike McCarthy was on that panel.
And John Parada.
And we talked about the situations where if you're a comic and you walk in and any one of these situations is going on, you know it's going to be a shitty gig.
Oh, yeah.
And we tried to come up with a list of
Right.
10, and we couldn't narrow
We-
it
we-
down
we-
beyond 12.
We wanted a top 10
At
and we
least.
couldn't narrow it down. So we came up with
I'm
12.
sure.
And-
yeah.
and-
Top
yeah.
12.
To your point, it was always like, there's kids in the audience, or comedy is a surprise to the audience. They didn't know it's going to be a comedy show.
Or when the comedian is opening up for an event that has nothing to do with comedy.
Yeah, like musical acts,
Acts,
in
concerts, in between, like you were talking about an award show,
Yeah.
or at a memorial for someone that passed away. And
I don't know
bring in
why
a
they always
comedian.
think they need comedy, though.
Right,
It's
right,
like,
right.
who thought they needed a comedian while celebrities and athletes are being seated?
Right.
There's no reason for me to be there at
No.
all.
Because somebody somewhere thinks you can plug a comedian in anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
You just this guy will walk out and talk, and people listen to him, and they'll
I
be
think-
entertained.
I think
Yeah.
it's because people don't realize, like, you could put a musical act, get one guy in a guitar playing some acoustic music, play 4 or 5 songs. That's different. That's background.
Because
Comedy's
music can play
comedy-
in the background. Exactly.
Comedy's not background.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and
you
it
have
was-
to pay attention.
And they're always worried about money. I mean, it was great
Yeah.
money. It was like, I felt like, when it was done and I had, a few beers in me, I was sitting back there going, this is fucking awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
right.
now
well,
it's
you're
great.
hanging with John Goodman.
and I'm hanging with John. But yeah, oh boy, but let me tell you, I've seen John, at the time, how big. I mean, that guy was, I never saw anyone that fat. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, if he didn't lose that, I mean, he's thin, somewhat thin now. He would
He's
be dead.
thin now. Yeah, I've seen
Oh
him.
my God.
Not
And
personally,
just
but
he'd go out for 5 minutes, come back, rip
Drenched.
the thing, just pour water coming off his body.
yeah.
And then he'd go, throw me a beer. And I just throw him a can of Bud. He would just
Down
crush it and then throw in another one. He goes, I'll be back. I'm like,
Holy shit.
That's awesome.
It's
though.
pretty wild. Pretty wild.
That's an awesome night.
Yeah,
That's-
that was great.
That's a great story.
So now you alluded to this, and we just talked about shitty gigs, but we always wrap up the show with this question. We always ask our guest about a shitty bad gig story, and that's the gig that, like, it's a funny bad gig story, not shitty. They're all shitty when they're bad.
Thus bad.
Yeah. But a funny
Um,
bad gig story. In other words, the gig that it wasn't funny the night of, like, it probably made you rethink your career. But as you get further away from it, and everyone's, you're in a green room like 3-4 weeks later, and everyone's telling war stories about these shitty gigs that they've done. And, you're like, oh, you think that's bad? Oh, listen to this one. Like, it's your one-up story, to get all the other comics laughing.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one I just hear, like, looking back at it, yeah, I mean, I don't know how funny, but the one that sticks out is just like, what, as bad as it gets kind of deal, where
Yeah.
in New York City, again, this is the time I've done all these TV shows and it's like things are going good. And some guy saw me at probably Stand Up New York and asked me to do it was like a corporate gig in Wall Street area at a steakhouse in the Wall Street district.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't know anything, so I'm like, oh yeah, of course, and he's
Yeah,
like, it's like $2,000, and that was more. I never saw.
You
I
ever
haven't seen
made
$500,
Right.
barely. So I'm like, $2,000. I go. He goes, yeah, 30 minutes, 25, whatever you want to do. I'm like, yes.
If
What
you're
time?
having fun, stay up
keep
there.
going. Exactly.
Wait a second, Al. Who books that?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So he goes, I go, what time's the show? He goes, be there at you'll go on at 4 o'clock. You go on it. I go, 4 o'clock. All right. So it's a steakhouse. I get there and you go downstairs into the private room. I walk in about 20 to 4 or whatever. I see these guys, there's tables, all these round tables, all men, drunker than shit. I mean, they are
At 4
fucking
p.m.
hammered, fucking hammered. They're throwing things, they're wadding up napkins and throwing them. And I'm
You're
like,
already
yeah.
set up for success.
Right.
there's no way, and I have no skills real. I mean, I can do my 10 minutes,
Yeah.
pretty nicely, but
How long had you been doing comedy at this point?
again, that's 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years, and you're just seeing dollar signs. When someone says 2,000, you're like, I'll figure it out. I'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm standing there, and then the guy walks over to me, goes, "Hey, you made it. Blah blah blah. You need anything?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." I go, "Where's the mic? Where's the stage?" He's like, "What?" I go,
I love
Mike,
those.
mic and a stage, anything?
Microphone.
You got, and he goes, no, wow, shit, we don't have anything like that. I go, dude, am I doing a show or what am I doing? He goes, nah. He goes, you know what? You go stand right there. And he points to the middle of all the tables. He goes, you stand right there. You just stand there and you
I did
do your
same
act.
exact show as this one time.
Do the act. Do
Go
the
ahead.
act that we saw the night. That was funny shit, man. Do that
Oh
act.
my God.
And I go, this is, you saw me in a comedy. Oh my God.
Yeah,
So
right.
anyway, I stand there for 5 or 10 minutes and he goes, hey, we got to, he's trying to tell these guys that we got a comedian. Like you're going to tell all these fucking Wall Street guys who are hammered.
Yeah.
All they want is like a hooker right now.
Yeah, right. They want hooker and blow.
Right.
Yeah. They're bringing out
guys,
a comedian.
The fuck up. I got a comedian coming out.
Some idiot 35-year-old guy is coming. What?
Yeah.
There's no chance in hell this works. So I just walk out and immediately it's like, who the fuck is this? And I start getting hit with napkins, just rolled up napkins. Who the fuck are you? I'm like, and there's nothing to hold. There's no microphone. So I'm like, I'm working in the round, like walking around.
Right,
Like,
you're
nothing
like
to
doing
hold.
table magic, right?
Which is even like, like as comics, even when you talk to somebody about, like you do this just to, I don't even have that. I have nothing. I'm like, I'm putting my hands in my pockets. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So about 2 minutes in, this old drunk guy says something like, you fucking suck. Go kill yourself. And the whole room explodes with laughter. And I'm like, what the? I go, really? You're going to laugh? That gets a laugh? I get nothing? And they go, that's the fucking boss. And whatever he says is fucking funny. And they explode again with laughter. Just explode. So now I've been up there 3 minutes or 4 minutes. And I'm like, and again, papers flying. These guys these are fucking grown men throwing paper airplanes, balls. Drunker than shit. Right. So I go, in my head, I'm thinking to myself, the staircase is behind me. It goes straight up to that street. I can get the fuck out of here. So I don't run. I just start almost moonwalking backwards. I just start walking backwards and nobody notices.
No one said anything.
Nobody notices. They just keep continuing. Everything's flying.
They're still throwing shit,
drinking.
right?
I'm outside the room. I'm outside all the way, and I can see the light from the street. And I just look again. I look because I'm thinking the guy's going to come run up to me, going, "Hey, where you going?"
Right.
Nobody. Nothing.
No.
It's like it was never there. So I run up the stairs, and I just start running down like 82nd, whatever street, just running for my life. And the next day, I went to Omnipop because I wasn't signed with them or anything, but I used to just go there. And I was telling Tom Ingenio the story. Yeah. I was telling the story. And he's like, well, you got to get paid, man. You went there. And I go, dude, I did 4 minutes. I'm not getting paid. Right. And he goes, who was the guy? Tell me the name of the guy. And I go, well, I have this name and number. And fucking Tom, about 3 days later, he goes, come on in the office. He had my check. You got the check.
Holy shit.
So then I was like, oh, I'm signing with you, man. You're fucking awesome.
No kidding. Oh my God. That's someone that goes to bat for you.
The guy told Tom, he apologized and he goes, I'm sorry. He goes, I don't think we even knew he was, we don't remember him being here.
Oh my God.
Tom goes,
they were
he was there.
Fucking drunk.
And I go, the guy knew I was there. I talked to him. He wasn't that drunk, that guy. He goes, well, Tom said, he goes, they're just saying that they have no problem paying you. They just don't think you were there. They actually don't believe it.
Wow.
I go, oh, I was there. I go, also, I can tell you the
shit.
script. Yeah, it was insane, man. Completely fucking insane. But
oh my God. But to Wall Street guys, $2,000 was like that was like $5 for them.
And this
you know what I mean?
Early 90s. I mean, they were they were killing it. But
I had almost the exact same experience at Foxwoods. I was doing a weekend at Comics when they were at Foxwoods before they moved to Mohegan Sun. Mm-hmm. And on the Sunday night, or Sunday afternoon, I get a phone call from the guy, the manager of the club, and he goes, hey, we have a group, and it's a guy that owns a restaurant, and he's bringing the entire restaurant for their Christmas party. This was mid-January. Mm-hmm. They do their Christmas party after Christmas, obviously, and they want a comedian. Do you mind coming in early? He's going to give you cash. Yeah. And you can go entertain him. You got to do like 25 minutes, and it was $500 cash.
Yep.
If you want to, do some extra tonight. And of course I'm like, yeah, I'll come in and do it. And I got down there and it was 5 o'clock and same thing. They're already drunk and it's a bunch of tables and they want me to stand in the middle of the tables and talk to these people. and they didn't even know there was going to be a comedian. It was the owner's surprise to them
Yeah.
as a gift.
Comedy as a
And they're
surprise.
yelling shit, and they didn't throw anything at me. You one up me there, definitely. But about 10 minutes in, the owner comes walking up to me and he goes, "Hold on, guys, I just want to tell him a couple things, and then he'll be right back." And he walks over to the corner and he hands me the cash and he goes, "Hey, pretend like we're talking." And he keeps walking me towards the door. He goes, "What? Why don't you just go back up to the club?" He goes, "And we'll just pretend like this never happened."
This never happened.
Because
Exactly.
even he knew how bad
Yeah.
it was, because they were out of control, these people.
Mhm.
And I get upstairs to the club, and the manager goes, "Hey, how'd it go?"
Great, I got
Oh, yeah.
paid.
I said it was like
Exactly.
a childhood memory.
Well, you
I wanna
learn.
wipe.
I learned early on in those where you get paid before the gig.
Yes.
You do any of those
Yes.
private,
Yeah.
you got to get paid. You can't be chasing somebody
Especially-
down afterwards.
Especially when you walk into a place and that happened to me. The very first bachelor party I ever got hired for.
Rhode Island bachelor parties are always
Well,
like that.
way back then, yeah.
Always like that.
But I got hired for the first bachelor party. I go there and it's a bunch of guys in a room, and I go, "All right, where's the stage? Where's the mic? Oh, we don't
Nothing.
have any of that."
Nothing.
Isn't that amazing?
I had no voice by the end of the night because
It's amazing.
they were a good crowd. I won't say
Right.
they were,
But
you
they're
know,
rowdy.
but they were rowdy,
They're rowdy.
and I lost my voice. I do a lot of impressions and voices, so I ended up losing my voice by the end of the show. I'm like, well, at least I got paid. But back
it's
then,
amazing
it
though
wasn't
that what does it take to do what does it take? A mic,
a
a
light,
stage,
a light,
and a light.
And
And they
that
can't
was
do it.
on that episode we
can't-
talked about, Al,
can't do it.
about the it's a bad gig when
Mhm.
you don't have a focal point, meaning a
Right.
stage,
Right.
with a simple light on the stage, when you
Yeah.
don't have a sound system, so
Right.
that draws people attention to it. The
Yeah.
very
It's
simple
so-
things.
It's
Yeah.
so easy.
All we need is that. I don't even need the
Yeah.
stool necessary. The stool
No.
is
Right.
nice for aesthetics and everything, but if you don't have one, if you have the mic and just some kind of raised component for me to
Right.
stand on, I'll make it work.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what's nice about when you go to like the ships, because then they'll do a show in the theater, usually one show out of the week you'll do
Right.
in the theater, and they have all the tech guys and stage people,
yeah,
and they're just kissing your ass, and you can't do enough for you, and you're just like, this is unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
at the beginning,
You're like, I'm
really?
in
Like,
heaven.
yeah, I mean, Jesus. But then
They're like, how's the sound out of that mic?
Yeah.
It's great. It's a mic. That's all
And
I
they love
care
it.
about.
And they love comics because like they'll call my room and go, "Do you need a rehearsal?" I'm like, "No, just turn the mic
Yeah,
on." And
we're
they're like, "Oh,
easy.
thank you," and they get an extra
Right.
half hour to take a nap or something.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? But I'm
Well,
like,
we
"Nah."
had
I was gonna say,
Bobby-
Joe. How about Joe Yannetti's
Well,
story? I
yeah.
gotta ask you, because Joe Yannetti told a story when we had him on.
He's a
about-
pain in the ass.
He is.
Yeah.
But he had a great story about one time they had him on a ship where they were doing the comedy where the ice skating is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was
And-
on that crew. Was that where he ice skated his set?
Yes, he put
Yeah,
the
I was
skates
there.
on.
Were you
I was
working
on
with
that.
him?
I was working with Joe that week.
Oh my
Ah.
god, that's awesome.
Yeah, he put on. He goes, "Yeah, you got a size 10," and he puts
Yeah,
on his
yes,
ice skates,
yes.
and
And
he's
he
going
went out
around
on
the
the
rink
skates.
with his
And
micro.
they're
Yeah,
like, what
very funny.
are you talking about? He goes, if you're gonna put a fucking ice skating rink
hilarious.
between me and the audience, I'm gonna fucking ice skate on
It
it.
was hilarious. I like
Yeah.
I like Joe. I've always liked, but that week I was like, you know what? I want to open some of it. I want to open most of these shows. He's like, why? I go, because he does a lot of crowd work, but he gets really combative with the people.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I go, I'd rather
Joe,
not.
I
I'd
want to
rather
go on before
I'll
you
go
piss
first.
him off.
I'll go first. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
That's Joe.
yeah. But yeah, I was there when he was skating, doing comedy. I was like, oh, I've never seen that before. I thought I've seen everything. Nope.
Yes.
Haven't seen a
That's
skating
awesome.
comic before, but
Yes,
that's
yeah.
very Unity. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Al, what do you have coming up that we can promote? Are you guys, have you and Al done any more webisodes, or are you regularly doing the podcast now?
Yeah, we do the pod twice a week. So it
Yep.
comes out every Monday and Friday
Okay.
on all the podcast platforms. And it's on YouTube also, the Talking Dicks Comedy
Talking Dicks.
Podcast. And yeah, I think I'm going to do the Laugh Factory in Vegas in what do you call it? The end of June.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So until then, trying to these Zoom shows. I don't know how you guys feel about them, but I
Not a
can't
fan.
do it. I can't. Some guys love them and they go, "Hey, I've gotten really good at Zoom." I'm like, what are you getting good at? I don't understand. I can't do it.
I understand the almost a need for them, and they're
Sure.
something anyway. But it's just I don't know. I've done a couple of them, and Ace and I were both part of the Boston Comedy Festival this year, which was all Zoom shows and streamed.
Right.
And we had a decent,
but it was a little bit different because when it's a festival, you're going to get. I mean, I was on the semifinals, a couple of the semifinals.
I was on the preliminary rounds,
Yeah.
and we still had like 50 people watching.
Yeah.
Never mind
we had
the
a couple of
comics.
hundred on the
Right,
the
and
semifinals.
but it's still not, it's just everything's
No.
delayed. You can hear them talking to each other because they left
Yeah.
all the mics on,
and the problem is too, like, I didn't even realize this because Jim McHugh's sister Helen, who was running it, I felt so bad because I was getting laughs, and then all of a sudden I wasn't, and then I was, and she told me after, she said, your mic kept cutting out because I was doing it through my iPad and my earbuds, and for some reason it wasn't, it was cutting out where I should have done it on this setup, it would have been better, but you don't know, you can't tell, and for a regular Zoom show, it's got to be
so
tough.
awkward. It's just very awkward.
Well, and some are muted, some aren't, and people are walking in the room. I can't,
Were they yelling at their spouse? Hey, let the dog out, and they don't realize, they don't realize they're on.
I did a show that was streaming on Facebook Live. And in the middle of one of my jokes, I heard someone say, "Hey, if you go into the fridge, can you grab me?" And I'm like,
"Give me a yogurt."
Right.
It was like louder than I was, and I'm like, "Oh my god, what am I doing?" It's just this is just too much.
But I think now when you've been out to do comedy, live the few times, did you have the rust? Did you feel like, oh wow?
Yeah, the first one was, so I walked off. My last gig was like March 16th of last year, and then I walked in a club in June. I did a club, like a 4-night thing in Florida. Yeah. So the first show I recorded them all, and I did like 55 minutes, but there were a lot of moments where I would listen and I'm just like, whoa, man, I left out like a minute of that joke. I left out, it just ended, and
it still worked for the audience though, right?
It's
that's
the same
old
thing.
thing.
It's like when you hear a musician and you go, that guy's awesome, then he's like, I fucked up that show. That was right. And they go, I don't know. It sounded good to me.
Yeah.
So I was listening to it going, oh my God, like I forgot these bits. But by the second, third, they came back. So it wasn't like that bad a rust kind of thing where you walk on just going, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
We've talked about it before. We did a show last summer in July, and we hadn't done anything since, I think my last one was March 7th of last year. And all of a sudden I had this panic attack because we're in the green room and I look at Scott, we were on it together, and I look at Scott, I go, what's my closer? I don't remember it. And he didn't remember it. And it took a good, what seemed like 20 minutes was probably 30 seconds.
I was going to say it was like 30 seconds.
But I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Family Guy. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm good. And then
I start walking to the stage because I'm doing the middle spot, and I stopped and I turned to him. I go, what do I open with?
Right. I don't remember.
Because I'm thinking of a middle part of my act, and I want to do this. And then I went, shit, how do I open this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are all things you never had to think about.
No.
Before. You just went on stage, took the mic, and started. And now your brain's like, what do we start with? What do we, how does this go? And again, where I was doing the bit, and then I didn't even notice it in the moment. I did the bit.
No.
And then when I'm in the hotel listening, going, where the fuck's the ending to that?
Yeah.
I just dropped it some reason, and then I had to think about, well, what is the ending of that bit?
Right.
So those kind of it's just weird, but it comes back, and then
eventually, yeah.
And then then I would have a month or two after that off, and I would write some new stuff, and then I would think, well, I got to try it.
Yeah.
So you feel like you're a beginner again, because it's like, how do I put it in the middle? Like, do I open with something? How do I?
Yeah. Do I sandwich it in between something that I know works? Or...
Yeah. And then there's a lot of local comics here, and they produce their own shows. And I've always been busy. I really don't know them. And a lot of them are like 25 years old or something. But they started approaching me, going, "Hey," on Facebook Messenger. They're like, "Hey, man, I have a thing at Pete's Place. It's a little bar. Would you, I don't know, if you ever want to do it, it's, it's $50. You could close the show." I'm like, yeah. And they go, so I was grabbing those just
just to stay fresh,
do the new stuff. I'm like, I don't care. Like, that's like a real, true, open mic almost. Like, I don't care about the money. I'm just like, I want to do new stuff and just see if it works. So,
Yeah.
and I got to see a lot. I've met a lot of,
Newer
local
guys.
comics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some are funny. Some are just, it's just like the old days. I mean, some are funny, some
aren't, right?
some aren't. And,
But if you
and
get
they-
booked for a bigger gig and you're looking for a solid opener for you, you're
Exactly.
like, oh, you know
done-
what? I've worked with these couple of guys that are
Well,
really
I did
good.
that. Yeah, I did that exact thing. I did a 4-night thing, and they said they wrote, would you like to bring an opener with you? And I was like, yeah, there's a guy here who has thrown me a couple of shows, and he's good, and he loved it. I mean, he's never even had a real where you stay in a hotel kind of gig.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that
it
first
was
road
funny to
gig
see
that
it
you
through
do.
his eye. Yeah, he was loving
Wait a
it.
minute, we
Yeah.
we get chocolates on our pillows.
Yeah.
I don't have to steal the peanut butter packets
Yeah,
for dinner.
right, yeah.
Yeah, and he got lucky because it was nice, like a hotel with the bar in the hotel. So we would just go to the bar after the show. Then we were
Hang out.
just get in the elevator, and I was trying to tell my guy, it's not all like this. Don't you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Don't.
Yeah, you're gonna stay in
Yeah.
some real
It's gonna
shitty
change.
places.
Yeah, enjoy this right now. Enjoy.
Yeah,
it.
because you're gonna stay in rooms that open up to a highway.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna stay in a few of
And
those.
you,
Oh,
and you may
yeah.
want to, you may or may not want to buy a black light
Yeah,
when you go
don't-
on the road.
No, don't
For
it.
your own
Don't do
sanity,
that.
don't
Just for
do
your.
it.
And remember those days without Wi-Fi? You'd be like at the Red Roof Inn or something,
Yeah.
and holy shit, I don't know, with 4 channels, and it's like
Yeah.
I look back on, I don't know how I did it. I mean,
Yeah.
at the time it was fun, but I look back on, I don't know how I did it mentally.
Yeah, what did I
You know?
do?
I
don't know.
No, you know what you did? Like when Eddie and I first, when Ed took me all around New England, and when Ed Regine, when he took me around New England, the first time I went to the Portland Comedy Connection, we didn't have internet, we didn't have any of that shit. We went antiquing. He took me antiquing
That
during
was
the day on
Stephanie
Saturday.
Peters and I.
Yeah, Stephanie Peters did it with you.
Yeah.
Antiquing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
Let's
brings
go
me.
look at. He goes,
Wow.
let's go to now. Listen, I didn't know, and keep in mind, I'm from Rhode Island. So when we say pawn, pawn and porn are the same thing in a Rhode Island accent.
Yeah.
So
Dude,
Eddie
you watch
goes-
any porn last
Yeah.
night?
Eddie goes, hey, you want to go to a
Cock.
pawn shop? I go, a pawn shop?
Right.
What are we gonna go? We're gonna go shop for dildos? What's going on? So we go to this pawn shop, which is a fucking antique place,
that's
and
funny.
I'm like, this is not what I was expecting, but
No,
all right.
this is the road, really?
Yeah, this is the road,
An-
exactly.
antiquing with
I go
Ed
to the main
Regine?
mall.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first real road gig was opening up for Stephanie Peters, upstate New York, in this theater, and they put you up in these 2 rooms above the theater.
Oh yeah, where the headliner has the nice room, and
The
you have
headliner had the nice
with no
room,
walls.
and I had the room that didn't even have sheetrock on the walls. You saw the
Yeah.
studs in the walls and the
Ah.
nails coming through.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
deserve sheetrock at that level.
yeah, right.
and she says to me, "Yeah, bring a sleeping bag and your own pillow." I go, "They don't, they don't give you blankets and sheets and stuff." She goes, "No, they do, but you do not want to sleep
Yeah,
on
no.
them."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Really?" She goes, "I'm not going to get into a description if you can't figure that out on your
Yeah,
own."
right.
The only job in the world that treats their employees, you know what I mean? Like no
Yeah.
other job would
Yeah,
ever think
exactly.
to
It
put
was
some
just,
traveling businessmen in a fucking attic or something. And, you know,
Exactly.
I learned,
amazing.
and that was the worst part is after I was done my set, I couldn't even go up to my room because the entrance to go upstairs was behind the stage at the
So,
back of the stage.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
So I had to wait for her set
Yeah.
to be done and the
Cool.
room
Before
to
you
clear
could go
out so I could get up to my room after the show on Friday night.
Showbiz, baby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
I'm like, this isn't as glamorous as I thought it was gonna be.
No.
No,
But
no.
it's all part of the fun. So
That's it.
All right.
Well, listen, man, we
Dude, awesome.
appreciate the time that you gave us. We really, really
Awesome.
do. And
Oh, I had fun.
and when I'm ready to retire, you may get a private message from me on Facebook. So it's
He,
saying
he might be
"Hey,
knocking
Al,
on
how
your
do
door
I-
in Tampa.
How do I get into the cruise ship?
I don't
Yeah,
see
you
that
don't.
happening.
There's no more.
I don't see that happening. I got to get back first. Once I'm back, when this thing actually ends. But yeah, I'll be happy to help
Yeah.
you if I can, and it'd
No.
be good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we'll you know what? Once we're starting to do stuff up here, we'll try and get you up here as well. Because
Cool.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Scott books
definitely.
his show. I was booking a show called Ace Aceto's Royal Flush at a local casino. Then the casino closed. So I was shopping it around to other places. And then, the pandemic hit and it just kind of put a damper on everything. But
Uncle COVID crushed a lot, man.
yeah,
I was
exactly.
just thinking it would be hella fun to have the 2 dicks
Oh,
at
that'd
the
be
Bradley
awesome.
Playhouse.
To have Al and Al at the Bradley Playhouse. That'd be fantastic.
Bernadette
it.
already said she has to come when Al Ducharme comes to the Playhouse. So
All right.
That sounds like that sounds like their private sex life right there.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
okay,
right? She has to come all the time. I know.
She's very demanding. She's very demanding.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. Anything where we can, if we, we're always looking pre-pandemic where if we could work together and then do shoot during the day and do comedy at night. It's perfect,
Absolutely.
Really.
I just want a background role in your episode of Two Dicks that weekend.
Just a walk.
If I have you up to the theater, just let me walk in the background.
Yeah,
you got it, man. Maybe a dead body. Would you play a dead body?
Go.
Yeah. I can play that well.
Okay, good.
I can play that well.
I can do that.
You got it. You got it. Not a problem.
2 dead bodies.
Awesome, man.
Thanks so much, Al, for being on. We really appreciate it. Again,
thanks, guys.
If you want to check Al out, go on Twitter, Al Romas. Where is the Talking Dicks? Is it on YouTube?
It's on YouTube, and then Apple, Spotify, all that, and then we're on Twitter as the Talking Dicks Comedy Podcast, Instagram Talking Dicks Comedy, all the usual.
Yeah. Honestly, if you Google
Two Dicks Comedy Podcast.
Comedy Podcast. Yeah.
Right. 2 Dicks Comedy Podcast.
Don't just put 2 Dicks.
Yeah.
Make sure you put Comedy Podcast after it.
Totally different.
2 different searches.
Exactly. Way different.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Al. We really appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right. Have a good night.
Take care, Al.
You too.
All right,
and that was Al Romas.
Al Romas. It was so awesome. He's literally just like he was when I worked with him, years ago. Just a really, really cool,
just very laid back, cool guy. I mean, we probably could have got another hour of road stories out of that guy.
Easily.
The cruise ship stories, the road stories, stuff like that. Great. Funny bad gig story.
Yes.
And once again, another one that falls within the 12 categories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of the it's a bad gig when.
Yep. And that's why we've
yet to be disappointed on our list.
Well, listen, I mean, we kind of took a sidetrack. We've started working on a book of the bad gig stories. But, once we went live on Twitch, we want to get settled on this. We want to get established on this, but we are working on the book as well.
We've taken on a lot of things at once.
Yeah.
And so we've had to pause that for now, but that is something we're excited about. So we're definitely going to get back on that.
Yeah.
Part of the problem was we didn't realize how many great bad gig stories we've had over the years.
Oh my God. We started listening to them.
We're
only halfway through season 1. And we're like, holy shit, we've got so many of them.
There's so many great ones that it's going to be so much fun putting that together. But then we really wanted to do this, and we're so honored that Mark Riccadonna, Tom Banis, Richie Byrne, these guys have had us be part of this network. And every night they have amazing programming on Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. So come back to this channel and check out the amazing stories that they have on here every single night.
And if you're not watching this live and you're listening through the regular channel of audio, please check us out on
Wednesday
nights, twitch.com. Go on and just type
it's actually
in
twitch.tv.
Oh, twitch.tv. Yeah, that's why he's the technical guy.
Well, plus we're a couple Jeffersons in, so twitch.tv /drinks, jokes, and the letter N storytelling.
Yeah, and if you put drinks, jokes,
it'll pop right up.
The channel pops right up.
Twitch.tv.
So if you want to watch us live, or you want to check out some other great podcasts that are on here throughout the week, there's literally something going on every night. And we're on they do a show every Sunday night where they have all of the people who are on the network come on. Not everyone's on every week, but we come on and we play games and we talk about previous we
talk about the shows that have been on during the week. We talk about what's coming up.
We promote what's coming up. So it's just a great medium, a great way to look at this stuff. So check us out on there. And then we have to ask again, please, if you're listening to the podcast, you enjoy it, please tell a friend about us. We really, really appreciate it. Our downloads have gone exponentially up over the past few months. And we really think it's because people who are enjoying the show are starting to tell their friends about us.
Because of you guys sharing us.
Yeah. So we really, really appreciate that. 5-star review and just a blurb. Doesn't have to be a paragraph. Just say, hey, these guys are funny, or hey, I love listening to them drink and get drunk. And, and oh, Jen, thank you so much. Hold on. I'm going to show this. I'll tell my friends. Thank you, Jen. Jen B, how you doing? I love that name. That's awesome.
That's a great
thank
one.
you, Jen. We appreciate that. So talk, Scott, while I'm fucking typing here. He's just looking at me.
I'm sitting here reading it. I'm three
Yeah.
bourbons in at this point, so there's not
This
much
is
left.
what happens by this time of night. It's 10:01 at
but
night.
no,
on a Wednesday.
we're having a blast doing this.
We love
and
it.
We have a whole new medium now. We brought it to the video medium, which 3 years ago, 4 years ago when we started, never thought that this would be something that we would do. So we love it. We love that we get to do this now.
And now our audience, I love getting drunk with y'all. LOL.
Keep drinking, my friend.
Keep drinking.
Drinking.
Because we're going to keep drinking even after this is done.
Absolutely. And to all you guys, we have an amazing next couple of months booked already.
Yes.
Ace has done a great job of lining up some great guests coming up.
Yep.
So we got some awesome shows.
Next week we have a very, very funny guest. Boston comedian Shay Spillane is going to be on. She's hilarious.
Unbelievable story too.
Yeah, and she's got a great story to tell.
Unbelievable
so check us
story.
out next week with Shay. In 2 weeks, Scott's going to have a panel show because I'll be on vacation.
Yes, we're going to bring in some of our favorite goofballs, and we're going to bat around a few different subjects and just have a blast.
Yeah,
and just have a blast. And then the week after that, we're going to start up with our guests again.
Yeah. So we'll
great
have
stuff coming
guests.
up. You guys, stay tuned. Great stuff coming up. And again, thank you so much. So I guess.
Hold on, I want to put this back up because we're behind the funny. Listen, all of a sudden I'm the fucking tech person, so I'm producing the show from the side here. And I don't know what I'm doing.
I love the peek behind the curtain, folks.
Yeah, the peek behind the curtain is Ace trying to work his computer. This is great.
But that's what it's all about. You know, we love that you guys get to join us and get to see this side of it. And we can't have
and all of a sudden we're almost ending the show. We just went up in viewership.
Yeah. And the
someone
chat
must have called their friends and they're
and
like,
the chats
oh, shit,
the chats are starting like crazy now.
Oh, great. Oh, hold on.
I think a blackout drunk.
Have a great night. Thank you, Jen and Topher JH. I think I blackout drunk played Jackbox with y'all a couple of weekends ago. Oh yeah, that's the Sunday night show.
The Sunday night show.
Yeah, check out the Sunday night show. It's what is it, 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock on Sundays, right on this channel.
And it's all the creators, all of the folks that are on this channel, Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. And we play Jackbox, which is a really fun. It's almost like Cards Against Humanity online.
That's a fun show because it starts off just kind of discussing things that are going on the channel, and then we go into a game that gets very competitive.
Yeah.
And we're all drinking while we're doing it, and you just don't know what's going to happen.
No,
so join us for that. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. We look forward to having you back. Great guests coming up. So Ace, other than that,
we will see you
next week.